just don't know. I don't know, don't know, don't know, don't know, just don't. Oh, so you guys thought that I was going to get through this round of episodes where I'm living in Florida without talking about a love interest? Well, you thought wrong. Because, in the year 2000, I most definitely had a love interest that broke my teeny itsy bitsy weeny heart. Well, I worked at Taco Bell, like I told you, and making a little humble earning, a little humble income. Remind you, I'm 17. It's the year 2000, so I ain't balling. I'm not making or getting about 25 hours a week, if that. So my check would be 150, 200, maybe on a good week 230, and well, some things started to go down in my life. Let's see, again, it was the year 2000, and I attended the Daughter of Zion Seventh-day Adventist Church in, was it Delray Beach, Florida, I believe it is. And, man, I must say that from that moment until now, 22 years later, I have not been to a church so friendly, so accommodating, so filled of warmth and chivalry and brotherly love as the Daughter of Zion Fellowship was at that time. Now, since we left Florida in 2000, the end of 2000, yes, we were there for just a year, January of 2000 to December. But when we left, I never have gone back. So I don't know what's going on there now. But Pastor Bruce was my pastor there at the time. And, oh man, again, I could just praise the atmosphere of that church all day long because they were just very, very lovely in their spirit. Well, during that summer of 2000, still working at Taco Bell, a young lady shows up at church with a baby boy. Now, she is a chocolate-covered or flavored sister, and the baby was high yellow, bright yellow like me. And mind you, I had no interest in this young lady initially. I was 17. This young lady was 21 or 22. And in my naivety, one particular Saturday, we were at church. I walked up to her and said, "Would you mind if I hold your baby?" Just innocent. I wasn't planning an elaborate scheme to, get into her life and be her man. Nothing. I loved kids, always have. And I wanted to hold her baby. So she looked at me with a smile on her face. She said, "Sure." And she gave me her little boy, her son. And right at that time, another member of the church walked by and said, "Dre, is that your son?" And I looked up like, "Excuse me?" Well, y'all know good and well this ain't my child, And this is the deal with this young lady. Her sister and her brother-in-law lived in Florida, but they were originally from New York. And that's where this young lady was living. But every summer, which I was not accustomed to, because this was only my first year there and only year, but every summer she would come from New York and spend the summer months with her sister in Florida. And that's when I met her. So I remember thinking to myself, well, even if I was interested, this girl doesn't even live here, right? But and I don't want to paint this young lady in a bad light. But interestingly enough, people are usually aware of the fact that you're green when you are, right? And because she was advanced, 21, 22, with a 3-month-old, she could smell the adolescence still on my breath. She could smell the naivety on me. And I remember after that particular Saturday, I held her son. The following Saturday, we went back to church, and there was a basketball game. They have these leagues in the church where one church plays another church. Like, for example, Daughter of Zion may play the Hillview Church. A friendly game of basketball, and mind you, it gets a little rowdy sometimes. But we were having a game at our church. We had a gym, and she walks up to me, grabs me by my shirt, pulls me off into a dark area. Now I'm 17. I'm just like, what's going on? And she lays a big sloppy kiss on me. Oh yeah, you know how you see the Cupid flying around with the bow and arrow around the conscience of some individual who's been smitten? That was your boy Dre. I was, whew. You know, there's always something about a younger man and an older woman. And she was fully developed. Let me just let you know that right now. And by being developed, I'm not just talking about mentally. She was grown in her body, in her shape. She was endowed in every area. And it just blew my mind. Like, whoa, like, what did I do to get this kind of attention from you, right? I was completely surprised. But at the same time, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that feeling. And I walked into the gym on a cloud. Now, mind you, this is after all of the other episodes of relationships that I've already shared with you previously. I had already called myself being in love once before. But this was going to take your boy for a loop. For real, for real. And at that time, again, I'm still maturing into the young man that I would eventually become. But still green, still naive, and not knowing the rules and the ropes of relationships, this young lady completely took me for a spin. And her sister, I remember her face to this day. I will never remember her name. But her sister was a yellow young lady. She was a yellow woman, meaning like my complexion. But again, her sister that I was interested in at this point was a darker tone. And I remember her saying kind of in a playful way, but as I look back on it, she was really being serious. Be careful, Andre. She knew her sister better than I did. All right. And obviously, if I was thinking with my brain and not my loins, then truth be told, I would have realized that, you know what, this young lady is young. She's only a couple of years older than me, and she already has a son, and there's no father in sight. But you're overlooking those things when you're young. You know, there's something about love and relationships, infatuation, because really that's what it was at the time. There's something about that is all consuming. When you're young and you're still trying to figure out who you are, you're beginning to feel emotions and feelings that you're not familiar with. And then they become connected to an individual. You know, your hormones are racing. You start growing facial hair underneath your armpits. I mean, you know, you're getting older. You're developing mentally. And with all of that, it's like a fireworks explosion concert going off in your brain and in your feelings, your emotions, and you don't really know what to do with it. And this is why God has counseled us to be very careful with the opposite sex. Because in that, especially when you're young, because in that vulnerable state, we make some decisions based on how our private areas feel, based on the infatuation that floods our conscience, etc., etc. And I have not been, I hadn't been adjacent to that. I fell victim to that just like many of us have. And man, I remember my mother, Kefi Battles. Boy, I tell you, that's some kind of lady. I'm gonna just say that. She sniffed that thing out like a bloodhound. What's this in the air? Andre, he on a cloud. Something must be wrong. Oh, time to flip his bedroom. And that's just the kind of mother I have. She wasn't playing. And, you know, at this point, nothing had really set off because everything was happening so quickly with this young lady that it wasn't like I was planning anything or setting things in motion. Things were just seemingly happening. But no doubt she was calculated. She knew what she was doing, because fast approaching was her departure. The summer was ending, and she knew she was about to go back to New York. And although I don't want to judge her, I've said that already, as I look back on that experience 22 years ago, I've come to understand that she was setting a plan and a trap for my young, developing mind. You see, we all like it when someone loves us and cares for us and puts us before themselves. And at such a young age, that's what I was doing. I didn't know any better. I didn't know game. I wasn't apt to the streets and, the agenda of certain people. And so I believe in her wisdom, her years that were a little beyond mine, and in her street smarts, that she realized this guy really loves me. He really likes me. He's willing to do anything for me. Maybe I can hook him so that even when I'm in New York, I can have control over him, because he seems to be just so naive at 17 that he don't know no better. And she was right if that's what she was thinking. Well, like I said, my mother didn't like it. And for that particular summer, the summer of 2000, I remember that I had to come up with some schemes and some manipulation, if you will, to spend time with this young lady.